Hi, I'm Rashid Okunlaru, coach, speaker, and author, and I want to invite you to this very special series of videos that I'm recording, especially for the NHS Southeast Leadership Academy. This very first video is called Life, Leadership, and You. It's part of my Coaching Yourself and Your Team Compassionate Leadership series. And it all starts here with this: life, leadership, and you. What is leadership to you? Why are you here? What's really important to you? And over the next 10, perhaps even 15 minutes, it's going to be an opportunity for you to pause, breathe, and reconnect to who it is, why you're here, and how it is that you're able to move forward in a way that's really effective and authentic. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a coach, I'm an author, I'm a speaker. My job is to help people move ahead in their lives and their careers. And over the last 8-9 years, I've worked with a number of NHS trusts and leadership academies and with individuals, helping them move forward on this challenging but incredibly thrilling and rewarding journey of being a leader. So I want to invite you to pause this video at any time, and I want you to get yourself a piece of paper and a pen and to have some fun, because leadership should also be fun. And I'm going to invite you to pause the video at any time when you're wanting to write notes or to reflect. I'm going to get you first of all to write down a series of sentences. First is, my passion is. What are you passionate about? Remember, you can pause this video at any time. And then I want you to write down, my skills, talents, and strengths are. Don't be shy, go for it. What are your skills, what are your talents and your strengths? It might include your qualifications, it might include subtler skills and so on. My skills, talents, qualities, and strengths are. List them all. Because your passion is the fuel that's going to keep you going on the journey. Your skills and strengths, it's key that you know and that others know in order to that you're able to get the best out of this journey and others are able to get the best out of you. Next up, my mission, my purpose is. If you secretly know or you overtly know what your mission, what your purpose here is on this planet, what is it? Now's the time to really connect to it. And if you happen to be in testing times, challenging times, it's really, really important to reconnect to that. My mission, my purpose is. And your vision. What's your vision? In other words, what would success look like if you had achieved it? What would your world, the world, look like if you achieved it? Once you've written down those sentences, I want you to write down a handful of other things for me. What are your values in life? What are your values in career? What are your values in relationships? These things are the starting and building blocks. And as you can see, it's part of this journey as you go along this journey of your career, your skills, your talents, your background, who you are. Your mission, that purpose, that awareness, that mindset that's going to be key along this journey. Your voice, your communication, your ability to charm and influence, that's going to be key along this journey. And the network, the contacts, your colleagues, the people who it is that you serve, your team, your mentors, all of these things are going to be important on this journey of you being authentically yourself in the world. So that first step is all about you being clear. Once you're clear, it's then all about the organization you find yourself in this healthcare industry that you find yourself in, which is all about people at its heart. And it's all about the organization that you're in. So it's important for you to think about, okay, what's the mission here? What's the mission of this team? What's the mission of this organization? Is it clear? Is it clearly expressed? Is it something that I'm going to need to take a look at so that everybody's very clear on it? What's the vision? Again, what would success look like for you, for service users? What would it look like for your team? It's really important. What are the values of the organization? How do they blend with yours? How do they all align? What's the culture? How is it that, what are the norms here? How people are actually treating each other? The culture might vary from team to team, but it should really be one overarching culture. What are the behaviors that are acceptable and the ones that aren't? When I go into organizations, and when I'm particularly more high up in the organization, like I'm working with senior teams and so on, I ask these questions. Okay, what's the mission? Why are you here? What's the vision? What was success like for all of these key groups? What are the values? What's the culture, the environment we're trying to create? What are the actual behaviors that are and aren't acceptable? This sets the framework for everything else. So it's really important that you're aware of it for yourself, for your team, and for everybody who it is working within your organization. So there might be different levels of this, but they all need to align. From here, you can identify the plan, the people, the processes, the performance, etc. All of these things are really key across the organization. So on this journey of being a leader, it's also about being strategic. So if you think about it, we've already got two different things. There's the heart. Who am I? Why am I here? What's really important to me? How can I be true to my heart? And then there's this wider environment that you find yourselves in. And for that, we're going to need to be strategic. What we've got here over here, it's a bit like zooming, it's like zooming out and seeing the big picture. Because prior to being a leader, you might just need to be concerned about yourself and your team, maybe a little bit more about the wider department division. The higher up the ranks you go, you can need to think about what's going on more broadly inside the organization for service users, for the public, for stakeholders, what's going on in the culture, in the economy, more widely in society. You need to be aware of those things strategically so you're sharp and you're aligned. As you're looking at different things that you're needing to do and to achieve in your role and for your team's role and for the organization, you're going to need to be aware of all the things that I've set out here. What's the terrain? What's going on in the environment? What's the task? What's the goal? It might be a big task of this is what I need to achieve over the next few years, or it might be a very specific task. This is the particular project that I'm leading on now. What are the tools and the technology you're going to need? What's the team that you're going to need? What's the tactics you're going to need to employ? What's the tenacity, the mindset you're going to need? And what's the time frame? All of these things are part of it. And the deeper you go into the leadership journey, the more it is that you need to be strategically mindful. So like any, if you think about when we're very, very young, we're often taught a lot about lots of strategic games, chess, drafts, this, certain things with cards. You need to know yourself, you need to know your own context, you need to know the game, you need to know the stakes, you need to know the players. That strategic awareness is really, really important. And can you see over here, you might have heard of the SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, opportunities, and threats. But very often in very strategic environments, we might need to do what we call a PEST analysis. What things going on politically, economically, socially, technologically that might have impact on what you're doing. So if you find yourself at a time of real change, or you're in a role where there's a lot of moving parts, then and lots of things are happening, then doing this PEST analysis, political, economics, social, cultural, and technological, will be very, very powerful in order for you to come up with a strategy that's apt. And it's important that you take time to be strategically aware, because if you're not, guess what? Other people that are going to be as well. So again, I want to ask that question, what would success look like? This is so important. What would it look like and be like for you, in your role, for your team, for the trust, for the organizations, for stakeholders, for service users? Take that time, pause this or come back to this and really, really consider. It might be that you're rebuilding a team, it might be you've just got a more senior role, it might well be that you're taking on a new project, it might well be that there's all sorts of things going on, or you might be a very, very, very senior role. Take that time. What would it look like? What would it be like? This is an exercise you could do with yourself. It's an exercise you could do with your team. It's the kind of thing that I do a lot of the time when I'm coaching, when I'm running strategic days, etc., etc. With the key players, the key people who you need to build relationships with. Where are you at with the team? What support and what development are they going to need? What are going to be the challenges? Who are the competitors? What's going on? That helps us to begin to develop a strategic plan, or to redevelop or refine the strategic plan, or take other plans that are out there and to dovetail what we're doing within. And it helps us in everything that we do. And it will help you to really inspire and motivate your team. So it's then going to come back to you as the captain of the ship, as the leader, as a manager. And it's interesting, isn't it? When we started many years ago, when people talked about leadership, they'd actually talk about manager, the managing person who's organizing this and that and getting things done. But in leadership, we also need to be the leader, that person who's able to inspire, infuse, support. And then we're often also a coach. I'll come back to this in other videos, helping people move further along the line and to giving them that development that they need. But that's all going to mean that you yourself need to be aware of your own brand and your own impact. You're going to need to influence others. So what we've got here are a number of things that are pointing you on this journey of you and your brand in order to be that change maker, in order to shine, in order to inspire, in order to help other people to become who it is that they are. So they're saying here, what people feel about you when you leave the room is exactly your job in it, in the team meeting, at the conference, at that particular event, with your seniors, with your peers, in every environment. And it's important, we always have something true to say and valuable to put on the table? Are you seen as part of the problem, part of the solution? You always want to be the kind of person who's always part of that solution. So I talk about three things: being valuable, knowing what your skills and your talents are and your gifts are. This is where we started. Being visible in your team and your organization, more broadly in your industry. And being velvet voice. That doesn't mean telling people what they want to hear, but it means saying it in a way that's so compelling that people hear it. And it's about you having that visibility, that authority. It's not just your role, but it's how you hold yourself. Everything about how your demeanor, how you dress, how you show up, your body language, everything else, your authenticity, and that likability and credibility, and meeting people authentically from the heart. So, as we're also developing, it's important that we're very mindful about different leadership styles and different leadership types. And actually, the thing that's really important as we develop is that we realize, oh, well, I might be like this, I might be like that. That's all very well for you, but you're going to need to be so many different things, because at different times, you're going to need to evoke different styles and different ways to impact on different people. So what we've got here is a range of, and you may be familiar with this, the different kind of leadership styles, from director telling you what to do, you know, I say you do, visually having that clear sense of where we're going, and hopefully also that a sense of how one's going to get there. That's really important, particularly in times of change, or where people might be struggling to have that other vision of how things could be. The affiliative style, which start building those actual relationships in order to get things done. Participative, getting other people involved so people feel part of something. Pace setting, as we see, for example, in sport, that way of helping talents to move fast to achieve what they're wanting to do can be valuable in certain environments for certain people at certain times. And coaching style, which is really about helping other people and developing them to be who they can be. These are all important. I want you to think about what are the strengths, what are the potential weaknesses of each, and remember what we're wanting to do is blend these, combine them, and it's situational. I invite you to think about, okay, which one tend to be your main ones at the moment, and which ones do you need to develop increasingly in your role? Okay. And one thing about leadership, it's a learning journey. So I'm going to invite you to identify, you've already begun doing some of this, what your strengths, skills, and talents that you would say, that, and then what others would say. What would your peers, what would your seniors say? They might say some other things. Next thing, 3 areas to develop. Very often we get overly caught up. I need to do this, 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 and this. But think about the 3 things that would strategically make the biggest impact in you and your career and in your leadership now. 3 areas. So I think, okay, with my next role, with this new role that I've got, I think I need to be really good at report writing, because I'm going to need to be reporting reports to the board. I need to be good at doing presentations, because I'm going to now be responsible for this, this, and this, and showing leadership on that. And also I'm wanting to work on my skills in terms of influencing senior stakeholders and so on. So I want those one-to-ones communication skills. Again, what would others say? What are the people, the contacts to build or to develop and so on? So this is the beginning of your own, if you like, plan for your own development. So what would you say and what would others say? And if you're at certain points in your career, if you're unaware of it, ask certain people you know, like, and trust, and you value their opinion for their input. You could also open a document called accomplishments and list all those accomplishments, because sometimes we lose track of those accomplishments, and that can be useful as you're moving further forward and as you're presenting that case of who you are, what you've done, what you've achieved, and what you can contribute. So it's quite fast track, but I want you to now pause and think about what is it you've learned. What are your actions? And in fact, for me, this is absolutely key in leadership, because we're wanting to constantly reflect. Where am I at? Maybe this is even something you're familiar with. Maybe you reflective practice as part of the work that you do. But very often it may well be the case that we don't have that time as a leader, or we don't make that time. When I'm coaching people in leadership, I always invite them to build in that time, even if it's just 10 minutes, to have that weekly review. Where am I at? What are my goals? How are my team doing? How can I begin to move things further forward? So this time to reflect, to review for you, and the time that you'll put in place for your team too. So that's us. And just very, very, very quickly to recap, we've covered a lot of ground today. We thought a little bit about who you are, your passion, your purpose, your strengths, your values. Being clear on how it is the mission, the vision, the values, the culture, your own and those of the team and the organization, making them align. Because again, things can fall down. It might be all very well that the mission is clear and the values are clear, but the vision, nobody knows what the vision is, and the culture's all over the place and the behaviors are not in place. It's our role to impact on that. We talked about being strategic. We looked at what would success actually look and be like practically and specifically. When you write that down, be super specific. We talked about your brand, being visible, valuable, and with a voice, and situational leadership, and moving from strength to strength, and reflecting, and then thinking about your next actions. Thank you so, so much. And I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care and wishing you all the best.